Morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. Today, we are going to be having an interesting discussion with two gentlemen that we have invited, and I would like to appreciate BKBC iGnite Hub for giving us an opportunity to bring experts in the house to talk more about the RBZ foreign currency auction for SMEs. I'm sure the picture that we have is we think that this auction process is for only big organizations, but as we are here, we are going to see that this auction is also meant for us as small to medium enterprises. So this morning, I have Mr. Usai Hevu. He is a dealer, a global markets and treasury at Bank ABC. And we also have Mr. Isaiah Mufuruta, Head of Exchange Controls and International Banking, Bank ABC. We do have questions that we have lined up for them as small to medium enterprises. But for now, I just want to invite Mr. Usai Wevu to introduce himself more.
Okay, thank you very much, Tofar. I'm Macmillan Usai Wevu. I'm a dealer in the Treasury Department, and I'm the one who will be handling the bids for the SMEs. And in this webinar, we aim to try and demystify some of the things that people have been saying about the SME auctions, and we hope that it will be beneficial to everyone. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mfuruza, can you also introduce yourself fully to the people who are on this call? Mr. Mfuruza, you can unmute yourself.
Good morning to you all. I am Isaiah Mfuruza, the Head of International Banking and Exchange Control at Bank ABC. My duty is to actually oversee the payment process and also the validation processes with the regulator. So I am the department that I head is the one that will actually do the processing of your payments when you are remitting the money out of the country. It is also responsible for making sure that everything is done in line with the letter and spirit of the regulatory requirements in Zimbabwe. So when you see me, you must be very comfortable because we are the people that will answer all your questions in as far as the regulatory requirements are concerned. And also we are the same people that you can also bother when it comes to the remittance of your money out, and to even those who do the exports. They are the same people who also receive your money from outside. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Without wasting time, I'll start with you, Mr. Mfuruza. It seems as if a lot of people out there, or a lot of small businesses, we don't even know what the auction is. So I would like you to explain in detail what this RBZ foreign currency auction is all about.
Thank you very much, Tofar. It's very true. Most of the people are not aware of this, or they've just heard about the issue of foreign currency auction. And truly speaking, it's not only people outside there, even some people within the financial sector. Not all of them are well versed with this auction. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to just explain to them what is involved in the foreign exchange auction. As the name implies, to say auction, the approach is the same as the normal auction that you are all aware of. Let's say at ABC auctions or hammer and tongs. But in this case, what will be happening is like the product that is being auctioned is the foreign currency. So what actually happens is it's a market place where buyers of foreign currency meet sellers of foreign currency. But because logistically it will be a problem to have everyone there, it is now done by way of bids which are submitted, just like what we do with the tenders, where you submit your bids and offers through sealed envelopes. So in this case, people are submitting their bids through bid forms, where you are saying, I'm prepared to buy a US dollar currency at this price. And everyone is free to bid with at any price they think is worth for them. And that bid price is determined by a number of factors. Someone's capacity, someone's predictions or focus, and someone's perceptions. Then you can say, I think I'm prepared to pay so much. So a number of people do the same. And then what is happening at the moment, there will be also limited supply of the foreign currency. You know, as we are all aware, in any market, there's no, where we say we've got endless supply, there will always be a limited supply. So because of that, what will then happen? The sellers now will try to take the best bid or the best price for the foreign currency that they're having. The same way we are doing in everything that we are selling, one is comfortable with a certain price. Then if say someone says that he's prepared to buy the US dollar at $80, $80, then if there's someone who is selling and who is prepared to take that, then a deal is struck at that price. So this is what is actually happening at the moment at the Reserve Bank. And not always that you say, I want to buy at 70, and then you get the currency. At times you might get the full currency that you want at 70. At times you might get only part of it. Or at times you might not be able to get anything because of the balance that will be there between the bidders and the sellers. So I think this is in short how the auction system operates.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm sure we do have entrepreneurs who are on the webinar right now, who are listening to how the process is all about or what it is all about. So if anyone is on the webinar, if you do have questions, please type them on our comment section. We are going to take note of the questions and also ask Mr. Mufurutsa and Mr. Usawiwevu on the questions that you might have. So over to you, Mr. Usawiwevu. How does this auction benefit SMEs? We have heard that right now, yes, SMEs can actually participate in this foreign currency auction, but how really does it benefit us as small to medium enterprises?
Okay, thank you, Tofara. I think you have realized that there is a great disparity between the black market rate and the official rate. And most of the SMEs were complaining that people are taking advantage of the arbitrage between the official rate and the black market rate. And this makes them, this makes their goods expensive and also makes them not competitive. So if you look at this opportunity, it actually gives SMEs the chance to also compete with the big companies because they're getting Forex from the same source. So now they can take big companies head on by reducing their cost of production, because we know that most of the goods that we are getting here in Zimbabwe, they are imported products. So this also gives them an opportunity to get money at a very cheaper source. Then secondly, we are looking at the issue of safety. You know, with this whole auction thing, you don't need to be moving around with bags of cash. And you know, we have read stories, I think we have read stories in the newspapers whereby people are getting robbed, people are getting duped. So this is actually brings safety, because we are saying that all is done in the banking world, and whatever you need to pay, you are using formal channels. Then thirdly, we are also looking at the issue of track records. Obviously, no one wants to remain an SME forever. So this also gives SMEs a chance to create their own banking record, so that in future, when you want facilities, when you want assistance from the bank, there is a bank record. You know, most of the guys, they would come and say, I want order financing. Then you ask them, what have you supplied before? They'll tell you, I've supplied this and this. Then you look for the records. There are no records to show. So this actually gives an opportunity whereby one has to create a bank record, so that in future, when you want to get assistance from the bank, you'll also be able to be assisted, because you are also creating a bank record. I think in summary, I would say those are the three major advantages of this whole auction.
All right. Thank you so much for touching on the issue of purchasing Forex at a cheaper rate, because we are struggling to grow as small to medium enterprises because of the way that we are getting foreign currency. And really, if we are to get foreign currency at a cheaper rate, which means that we are able to import our raw materials, because we are now moving towards producing instead of importing things for resale. But it goes back to Mr. Mfuriza as well. A lot of people are saying now that we are given a chance as small to medium enterprises to participate in the Forex auction. But is it that we are going to go in the auction and compete with the big organizations, or are we going to get a separate platform to auction the foreign currency on our own as small to medium enterprises?
Okay, thank you for the question, Tofara. This is actually a very important question, and it will clarify a lot for them. What the authorities have done, they've come up with a separate platform or a separate day in which these SMEs are to be saved. So you find that now we now have two auctions that are taking place per week. On a Tuesday, there is auction for the big corporates, and then on a Thursday, we have an auction for the SMEs. So like today is Wednesday. The bids for the SME auctions have to be in by today, 3 o'clock. And then the auction will be done tomorrow. But tomorrow is Thursday, so it will be done tomorrow. For the corporates, the big auction is actually done on a Tuesday. So the bids have to be in by Monday, 3 p.m. I mean, sending them to your banks. But your banks are required then also submit all their bids so that at 9 o'clock the following day, which is Tuesday for big auctions, the auction will start at the central bank. For the SMEs, is the same thing again. The auction will start same time on a Thursday. So the fact that the regulators, the central bank and government have decided to actually set aside a day which is special for SMEs is actually a recognition that they are equally important, and they also deserve to be given a chance to access foreign currency. So there is an allocation which is availed to save the SMEs. So you are not competing on the same day with the big corporates. And the good thing from what was done during the first auction, which was conducted last week for the SMEs, we found that the whatever is coming out from in that is not influenced by what is happening in the auction for the corporates. They can come up with their own bids, their own average weighted exchange rate. So it doesn't have to be the same as the one for the big corporates. So already the issue of them being crowded out by the big corporates is out.
Wow. Thank you so much. It really gives us hope. It really gives everyone in the webinar hope. We are almost 100 now, and we are so grateful that you are giving us this information, because the other cry which was out there was this information about the RBZ foreign currency auction is a bit secretive. I don't know if it is secretive or there is some communication which is lacking somewhere. So thank you so much for just telling us that as SMEs, we are given our own platforms. So I believe that we are definitely going to apply. So I'm just going to go back to Mr. Usawihevu. In terms of who is eligible to participate, can you tell us more about who can actually come and participate in this bid? And also, some people were saying, if I am an individual cross-border trader, can I also participate in this auction?
Okay, thank you, Tofara. So this auction is open for individuals and SMEs, and the minimum bid it's 2,500, and the maximum is 20,000. So you'd find that anyone who has got anything to import and has got an invoice is eligible to apply for this auction funds for SMEs. So we actually urge everyone to apply, because we also know that of late, I know people have been applying for school fees, for medical bills through their banks. So you can actually take advantage of this opportunity to also clear the outstanding invoices for your children's fees who are studying abroad, and also for medication. Then for SMEs, for all that you need to import, you can actually take advantage of this auction and pay your suppliers.
Wow, thank you so much. Today you are unveiling some things that we didn't know, and that we didn't know it exists, and it can actually help us as SMEs. So there you have it. The other thing was, what are the requirements to participate? This is for you, Mr. Usawihevu. Outline any documentation that might be needed so that at least people submit before the day.
Okay, so for SMEs, what you need is an invoice, that is a valid invoice that you need. Then you also need to have a tax clearance. Then you also need to have, to complete the bid form, whereby you put in the amount that you are applying for, the rate that you are offering, and also you put the purpose of your application to say what is it that you want to use the money for. Then I think for individuals, we also require the bid form. So once it is availed, then the bank will forward your bid. They'll just compile for everyone. They'll forward your bid to the Reserve Bank for consideration. Then we'll advise of the outcome of the auction.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are saying that people come to Bank ABC, right, to submit their bids, and Bank ABC will forward it to RBZ. Is that the position which is there?
Yes, that's the position. And I think due to the current restrictions and the COVID lockdown, so we actually urge people to even send their bids via emails. I think we'll provide the contact details where they can submit their bids. And once that is done, then the bank will forward the bids on their behalf to the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Mfuruta. I would want you also to iron out a question which was put across by one of the SMEs, which was saying that we just wait to hear the rate. People are just hearing the rate in the streets, like the formal rate. And you are saying that there are people who participate in those rates, who then is participating and giving us the rates. This is just a question which came from the floor as well.
Okay.
Can you just find out the perception which is there, that people are just hearing the rates and not knowing who is actually governing it or putting it forward?
Okay, thank you to Tofara again for this question. Yeah, if someone is not participating or has not participated in the auction, certainly they will feel like the rate has been determined elsewhere and it has just come out and they only see it when it's being published. But now that, for example, we are doing this seminar that we are doing, and we are explaining to everyone to say, how is it actually determined, like what I explained earlier on, then you find that it will become more and more clear to people. The rate is, they don't just come up with that rate. And it's not like it's being determined by some people and then it's just being given to the people, to the market. No. The rate, what actually happens, like what I explained earlier on, we have bidders, and then there's the supply of the foreign currency. So at the end of the day, when they do their bidding, what will be happening is that they'll be looking at the different prices or the different rates which have been given by people or participants on that particular day, to say, I'm prepared to buy at 70, someone says I'm prepared to buy at 80, someone says I'm prepared to buy at 85. And then they will be allocating the available foreign currency according to those bids. So what will then happen at the end of the day? They are going to come up with a calculated weighted average exchange rate. So the rate that is going to come is an average weighted rate, which is taking into account the bids that have been done and awarded versus the allocation that have been done. And then a rate is then determined by that calculation. So at the end of the day, the rate that comes out to be the average rate is actually as a result of the participation that has happened on that market. But mind you, the weighted average rate is not what everyone will be using to pay for the local currency, for the forex that is allocated. Everyone will be given the foreign currency at the rate that they've sent their bid at. And if they are awarded their bid, then they will pay that rate.
Okay.
But the weighted average rate is then used for example, all along we've been doing the auction for the big corporates. That weighted average rate will then be used to be the official rate for that particular week as we wait from the one auction to the next auction. That rate is the one that is then used for you to do any official calculation. Okay. So that is the same thing here. But what then happens, we are saying, the rate is actually determined at the foreign auction market, which is the auction. And that rate is determined by the forces of supply and demand, and also the bids that are being given by the people. So it's not like it's just being done by certain people sitting there, coming up with a thumbs up figure and saying this is the rate. No, it comes as a result of the interaction that is happening between buyers and sellers. And then we end up having a rate.
All right.
Now you will then find that all the people that are going to be participating, let's say all the SMEs and individuals that are interested and now have knowledge of this market, as they participate on that market, they will also be influencing the exchange rate.
Okay. Mr. Mfurisa, I want to take you back to a question which was sent on by the people who are listening here. They are saying that RBZ announced that on Thursday the bids will be combined. The big corporates and the SME corporates will be auctioning on one floor. How true is that? And do you have more information on that?
No. In terms of having one auction now?
Yes, you had said that there is now a separate bid for for SMEs, but apparently, I think a number of people sent on the chat right now to say that RBZ actually announced that there is going to be a combined bid for big corporates and SMEs. So I'm not sure. You can come in, Mr. Usawevu.
Okay, thank you, Tofara. So this communication, we have seen it on the Reserve Bank website, but it has not been officially communicated to the bank. I think on the RBZ website, they have indicated that they will be holding concurrent auctions, but this will still be separate. There will be one for SMEs and one for the big corporates. That will be out every Tuesday. But however, we'll wait for the official communication from the Reserve Bank. Because what happens is that normally like now, I think I actually have got a copy of that communication from the Reserve Bank website. So we just wait for the official communication so that we then communicate accordingly to our clients. But I think, yeah, we saw that on the website. We're just waiting for the official communication from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Okay, so if it runs concurrently, it doesn't mean that it's combined. Maybe it will be separate, but running at the same time. So we also have other questions. Someone is saying, yes, Mr. Usawevu, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, Mfuruza. Yeah.
Okay, fine. What I wanted to say, like what he's saying, what McKinnon said, they can run concurrently, probably for purposes of saving time, rather than having another one on Tuesday, another one on Thursday. But if they to allow banks to also just have a preparation that is smooth, they can run concurrently. But look at the criteria and also the threshold. They are still different. For SMEs, they are saying the minimum bid should be $2,500 and maximum 20,000. But for big corporates, you find that it's 50,000 minimum and maximum 500. So which explains that obviously they will be separate.
Yeah, I'm sure we are answered there. Then there is a question from Gaylord. He's saying that what normally disqualifies bidders? I'm not sure who will take this one up. What can disqualify a bidder?
Okay, I think I can take that one. So from the previous auctions that were held, you would find that bidders disqualified basically because of 3 reasons. The first one is having the outstanding bills of entries. Let's say you have imported something and you have not acquitted. That's an automatic disqualification. Then also, if you have the outstanding CD1s, like you have also imported something, you have also exported something and you have not acquitted your CD1s, you'll be disqualified. Then the third reason why you are also disqualified is because you have got an FCA balance, which is equals or more than what you are applying for. Take, for example, you are applying for 20,000, but already in your account, you've got an FCA balance of 20,000. You will be disqualified because we are saying that this auction is meant to cater for people with immediate needs, not for speculation purposes. So you'd find that if you have got a balance of maybe if you've got a balance which is greater or equal to the amount that you are applying for, we've also seen some bids being disqualified. I don't know if Mr. Mfuruza, you can add on that one.
Nothing really. There's nothing really much to add. I think those are some of the. I think the other thing that they just need to know is that when you are sending your bids, you are only required to send it through one bank. You cannot do it through 2 banks.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment you submit your bids through more than one bank, they disqualify all the bids that you have sent.
All right, so we do have someone who is asking, which bank I should use. Should I use a bank where I bank with, or I can use any other bank? For example, if I don't have an account with Bank ABC, can I apply for bidding via Bank ABC, or I have to be an account holder?
The thing is, as you submit your bid, the account, you should be having funds already ready with your bank. To say, let's say you want $1,000 and you've put a bid of, let's say, a rate of 70. The expectation is you should be having a minimum of 70,000 in your account so that the bank can actually forward your bid. When your account is not covered, you are not supposed to be given the chance to participate. So that can only happen with a bank that you have an account with.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another comment. It will be interesting to see what rates ZIMRA will be using for the payment of duties, considering that there is a high likelihood of different rates on the two different platforms. So he is trying to, Fidelis Manyangadze is trying to say that since the bidding processes for SMEs and big organizations are different and they might come up with different rates, isn't it going to affect us as SMEs to say when we have this rate, bigger companies like ZIMRA will be charging whatever duties at their own rate? How is that solved? How can it be solved?
Yeah, I think that one is actually a very good question, a very good observation. And us at the moment, as we are here, we don't have an answer yet on how they are going to be dealing with that. But all along, we found that what has been taken as the official exchange rate was what was coming out of the big corporates auction. And I don't know if authorities are then going to come up with the considerations for the SMEs. Because like what also happened when they started the auction, it was only through presentations that were done to say, no, but this thing is not catering for small business people and individuals. Please, may you come up with something. And through those presentations, the authorities have come up with this second auction for the SMEs. So I'm sure in terms of the exchange rate, they might still continue using the big corporate rate as the official exchange rate, given the fact that ZIMRA is already a big corporate which uses the rate that comes from the auction floor that is done on the Tuesday. So as it is at the moment, we don't have a clear answer for that, but I think it's always good to make presentations and so forth. But the catch is, it's not always that the SME auction will always come up with a rate that is lower than the auction for the bigger corporates. What if this week your rate is lower, next week your rate is higher? Will you be like oscillating, changing, say now want to use this, want to use?
Yeah. Okay. Then there is a question from Rue. She's saying that is there a verification that upon receiving the funds, is there verification upon receiving the funds they are used for intended purposes? For example, school fees, do I receive funds directly or they send to the account on the invoice directly?
Right, I will answer on that one. There's a strict monitoring that is taking place on all allocations that are done to the recipients. So you actually find that every week after allocations have been done and the payments have been done, the authorized dealers who are banks are required to submit a report or a return that will be accounting for every dollar that was allocated. Say we have allocated funds to Tofara for school fees. Expectation is we should be having the corresponding TT copy that we use to remit the funds. And obviously, when you submitted your document, you submit with the invoices to say, I want to pay school fees for my daughter or my son to this school, and there will be banking details. So when we then submit the return, which is a report of what we did with the money that they allocated us, we also submit that telegraphic transfer copy showing those same details.
Okay.
Meaning that now the money will be sent directly to that account. The only difference is, suppose you are allocated money for holiday or for business travel allowance, and you want that money as hard cash, then probably those are the type of transactions where we say the bank will give you the cash because you want it for your travel. An SME going for business travel, barring the issue of Corona, obviously people will be traveling and they would need the money for business travel allowance. Yeah, we give you the money as cash, but the expectation is you also account it by way of showing that you have really traveled, or your passport will give you a report to that. And you also, there are things like the itinerary, the air tickets, the accommodation of where you'll be staying, all those things they might be called. And usually from practice, we call for those things and we submit them at the bank. We can, obviously, the expectation that people are expected to be very honest and not to play around. But, you know, it's difficult to then ask exactly what did you buy? I mean, did you finish the money and so on? It can be a problem. But I tell you, if they really want, the authorities, if they really want, they can do that. But you actually find that high level of control, there's high level of accountability.
Sure. A question to Mr. Usaruhevu. Is there a priority list for the things that can be approved when you submit your bids? Are there things which are considered a priority or a need, and some are considered a luxury and they are also not considered?
Okay, so according to the Reserve Bank, you would find that their allocation for SMEs is based on the 80-20 rule. 80% is allocated towards what they call priority 1. Then 20% is priority 2. So priority 1, obviously, we are looking at those things that whereby you're looking at substituting imports, and also like things like raw materials and spares, machinery, capital investments. Those things, they're considered priority 1. Then there are also other things which then goes to priority 2, which are luxury. But according to the Reserve Bank, they are going to be allocating all the 2. 80% going to priority 1 and 20% going to priority 2.
Okay. Then maybe you can also answer this question, which is coming from Mochene. What is the lead time to acquit a bill of entry when I have been allocated foreign currency?
Okay, so the normal period is 90 days. However, there are certain things which are custom made, which may take more than 90 days. Those ones you need to declare, and normally would require a supporting letter from the supplier or whoever to say, okay, maybe it's machinery that you are importing, which might need maybe 120 days or 150 days. You need to declare upon doing your TT that this delivery period is going to be maybe 120 days, but normally would require the supporting letter from the supplier.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification. Then, Mr. Mufuruza, we have a question from Rutendo here. She's saying that 90% of service stations are selling fuel in United States dollars. Is there a provision for this to cover individuals where you can amalgamate the figures to meet the minimum bidding amount?
Maybe if you can clarify for me the part where I said amalgamating the figures, because the fuel that is being sold locally, there's still a bit of a challenge there, because the money that is obtained from the auction or from the interbank is actually meant to to import things from outside Zimbabwe. But things that are already in Zimbabwe, we are not supposed to be using that fund to pay. At the moment, there's no provision for interbank allocation to do local purchases. So the fuel from DFIs, the fuel from these other substations can only be bought using free funds. So if you see, the government came up with the structural instrument 85, and the Reserve Bank came up with the circular number 3, which covers the need to do transactions locally in foreign currency. This was meant to alleviate the challenges that having with COVID. It was meant to be only for those people and the corporates or organizations with free funds. But those other organizations without free funds, they're expected to use the local currency to do the purchases. So you find that now there are a lot of challenges that are there, because not all regulations or laws have been amended to take into account the new prevailing conditions. But maybe you can also clarify for me where they said they are amalgamating what the amounts. Probably I might have missed something.
Okay, it's fine. Rutendo, if you are on the call, you can just retype or rephrase your question there. And Mr. Sai, we have a question from Msiza. She's saying that, is it possible to resubmit a disqualified bid after taking into consideration the items highlighted for that failed bid? Mr. Usai?
Yeah, it's very possible. I think at times, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, it's very possible. Yeah, okay, thank you, Tofara. You can resubmit the bid after taking into consideration what has been the reason for the disqualification. So if it's an outstanding BOE, you can just quit that BOE and resubmit the bid on the next auction.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. We have a question from Tinashe as well. He's saying that it seems as if disqualification criteria is only aligned to exporters and importers. How about the service sector?
Hello. The service sector, remember, they also import things. So if you import something and you don't acquit, or you've got a high FCA balance, or you have done multiple bidding, you are also disqualified on those bases. So it applies across all sectors.
Okay. We have another question from Ignatius. He's saying that, sorry, I joined late, but just seeking to understand if we are going to have two different rates coming out of these two auction systems. If so, what will be adopted for trading purposes? I think this is for you, Mr. Mfurusa, in terms of the big corporates and the SME bids running concurrently, coming out with two rates. So he's asking that, which one is going to be adopted here?
Okay, so like what I said earlier on, currently what has been used as official rate was the weighted average rate, which was coming from the auction which was being held on Tuesday for the large corporates. And probably it was because it was the only auction that was there. But now, starting from last week, they've introduced this SME auction. So in terms of the rate that will be adopted as the auction rate, we don't have the information as yet. But I think that is something that we will also need to check with them. But I would like to believe they will continue using the weighted average rate, which came out, or which comes out on Tuesday, because that is where huge volumes are being traded. That is where huge volumes are being traded. And also, for example, when I said Zimra, when someone was asking about, let's say, Zimra rates, you also find that Zimra being a corporate, and most of his clients are these huge corporates which bring in millions and millions of transactions worth of money. They are more likely to use the big auction rate. But like what I said again, if the SMEs, through their associations and so on, feel that they needed to be charged using their own rate, then they can always make presentations, and probably the authorities will take that into account and use that rate. Just like what happened when the auction system started, they left out the SMEs, but through presentations and also contribution from the SMEs sector, we found that they then decided to come up with this second auction which will cater for their needs. So the same can also be done with the issue of the exchange rate.
Okay, thank you so much. Then in terms of the outcry which was there of information which is not clear out there when it comes to the RBZ auction system, where can we get more information about this whole process? I know we have done a webinar and most people are going to need more information after this webinar. So where can we get, is there a website that we can go through? Are there any contact people that we can actually teams or calls so that we understand more about the system?
Okay. Yes, what we are going to do as well, we had prepared some material by way of a presentation, which we are going to share with all the participants here. So our marketing is going to do that. They will share the information, and also we will provide the contact details and the people to contact. And we say everyone is welcome to get in touch with any of us, or even writing to the bank, or even going into any bank, or approaching our banking branches to get the information. Obviously, we might have different type of questions which might not be addressed by the material that we are going to send. So people should feel free to actually contact us, and we will be more willing to assist them.
Thank you so much. Our marketing team has actually sent the RBZ Forex auction presentation on the chat. Please, can you download it so that you learn more? And one interesting question, which is also coming from the floor, I don't know who is going to take this one. The SMEs are saying this auction system, is it really going to change our economy, or it's something that was just introduced to confuse the whole economy and the way things are run in our country?
Yeah, right. What I can say is that this has been done with an intention of actually addressing some of the challenges the market has been facing in terms of allocating foreign currency. And the idea with the auction system is to try and come up with an efficient and fair system of allocating foreign currency. Unlike where a few individuals are sitting and say we are giving X so much, we're giving X so much. This one now is going to be determined by the auction, where everyone is free to send a bid. There's no discrimination. For as long as you meet the criteria and you are submitting a bid in respect of the things that are on the priority list, you are given an opportunity to participate, and the allocations are also done fairly. They don't look at who is involved, they look at the bids and whether the bids have met the criteria. So when I look at it, the auction system is a much better way way of allocating foreign currency, and is actually more efficient compared to where Mfuruza sits down and says, I have to give to Farah, because Farah has said, I've got a problem. I have to give Macmillan, because Macmillan has got a problem. Now it is going to be based on what you bid. And like what I said, you bid what you can afford. You offer a price that you think is a fair price to you and that you can afford to pay for. Hello? Hello?
No, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes. So I hope you all had the full explanation that I was giving. You didn't miss anything. Something was now happening, and I thought I was now on mute again. So I'm saying this is a more fair way of allocating, because everyone is given equal chance to participate, and we are not forced to take one price. You can offer a price, you can bid it your own price, and if you win, you pay that price. I saw a question which was given by one of the participants here, I think Dube, and they were asking about someone getting putting a bid at 70 and someone putting a bid at 80. And they say someone at 70 wins and someone at 80 wins. And the question was, which price are you going to pay? The answer is, that one who has sent a bid at 70 will pay at 70. That one who has sent a bid at 80 will pay at 80. Because you are different people, your cost structures are different, and what we think is fair is also different. The one at 70 thinks 70 is fair for him. He can afford, or she can afford that 70. The system will give him that price. The one at 80, depending on the cost structure and so forth, the many factors that are involved, they'll be given at 80 because you've offered on your own. So that's how fair it is.
All right. Thank you so much. And to Mr. Usawevu, we have got Trust. She's asking that after receiving the foreign currency into my account, is it possible to redirect the funds to other purposes?
Unfortunately, no. The funds have to be used for the purpose that they were allocated for. You can't redirect the funds for any other purpose. And like what Mr. Mfuruza has highlighted, at the end of the day, we have to submit a return to the Reserve Bank showing what purpose were the funds used for. And unfortunately, we can't divert the funds because they were allocated for that particular purpose. They have to be used for that particular purpose.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think just one last question. As Bank ABC, do you have any plans to go out there, especially to the rural areas, and educate people about this whole RBZ auction system? Because I think from what I've seen, these funds are limited, and naturally you would like to make sure that less people participate so that we maximize the funds that are already there. So is there a way of reaching out to SMEs who are not in Harare? Because you will find that most people in Harare do have access to webinars like this, but there are some communities who really need foreign currency, but they don't have enough information and even platforms like this to learn about this whole system. So as Bank ABC, do you have programs that run and reach out to areas which are not tapped into when it comes to information dissemination?
Or should I take it, Macmillan? Right, let me say, as Bank ABC, you might be aware that we are not only in Harare. We are spread across the country. You also find that we are in every province, we are there. Go to Bidura, there's Benge BC, Chinoi, there's Benge BC. Go to Mutare, there's Benge BC, Mashingo, Bedbridge. I mean, we found that we've been having branches all over. So, and those branches have got teams that also go into the inner countries, meeting people, also conscientizing people on what we are offering as a bank. We also have a special department that caters for SMEs. I think Mr. Oliver, who is here, he can testify that as he's the head of the business banking. Those are responsible for SMEs. So you find that they've been heavily involved traveling across the country. I mean, they've been to almost every corner of the country, dealing with the institutions and also individuals. You find that we've been very active, very heavily involved with almost every school. So through that, we find that we are able to meet almost every corner. It's only that we have these challenges that we're having at the moment to do with the COVID-19 and the lockdown, the restrictions in movement, which is something that can actually affect our outreach programs. Yes, but those that we are able to reach by way of technology, like what we are doing at the moment, I mean, we will be able to do. Then there are certain things, there are certain issues that we are not able to do, or certain things that we are not able to do because of the restrictions that are not only limited to Benge BC, but that are also as a result of national issues, to say probably technology is not yet available in certain areas. There's no network, there's nothing. So those are the areas that we would then want to actually reach by way of physical presence, which is also sort of a challenge at the moment. But we found that when we didn't have these challenges, we were heavily involved as Benge BC, and we had teams that were also on the ground, going everywhere. And we have also other business units and other subsidiaries of the bank that we also work together with in reaching out to many corners of the country. So you actually find that as a bank, we've been very proactive, we've been very active, and we are everywhere, right from the top, from our CEO to the last corner or to the level. We find that we have been involved in actually meeting and visiting, communicating with everyone in Zimbabwe.
Sorry, thank you for the information. I'll take one last question from the team here. So Gaylord is saying that when an SME has funds in USD in the bank, but also generates RTGS, is there a restriction by the bank to force them to use their Forex reserve? It's normal that an SME would want to use their RTGS for imports via the auction. How does it work? And is it permissible to use the RTGS funds to convert them into USD so that they import their products?
Okay, Tofar, I'll take that one.
Yes.
Okay, like I mentioned before, remember one of the factors that is also considered when allocating Forex is your FCA balance. Assuming you've got 20,000 in your FCA account and you are applying 20,000 on the auction, your bid will be disqualified on the basis that you already have got some 20,000. There's also someone who doesn't even have and they want to apply. So like I've mentioned before, your FCA balance is also considered when the bids are being allocated. So definitely that will weigh down as a negative on your part if you've got an FCA balance.
Thank you so much. And we do have some commendations from the group that this was a very informative talk, something that we as SMEs didn't have information about, but Mr. Furutsa and Mr. Usawi Wevu, you gave us your time to educate us on the best way to actually have our Forex at a very safe pace, and also purchasing the Forex at a cheaper price. So we would want to thank you so much. Even we would want to thank Oliver and the iGnite Hub for bringing this platform to us as SMEs. And also, I was so happy to be the moderator today. My name is Tofara. Thank you so much for this time. So we also want to take this platform to be a networking opportunity for people who attend the webinars, which are organized by iGnite. So we are now opening the chat group for about 5 minutes so that people just send their names, their businesses, their contacts. And if anyone wants to network with you after this webinar, you are free to do so. And we also have the numbers for Mr. Mufurutsa and Mr. Musawiwevu being sent on the group as well. If we definitely need more information about how this auction system works, please do approach these two guys. They're there to help us. And hopefully maybe by tomorrow, some of us are going to participate in the auction. So thank you so much, and have a very great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tofar.
Thank you so much.